Most people think debt is simple. You borrow money, you pay it back, the end. But a credit card default is not a simple math problem. It is a financial domino effect designed to accelerate faster than you can react. Unlike a student loan or a mortgage, credit card debt is not fixed. It is algorithmic. It compounds daily. It triggers legal mechanisms that operate in phases. And it runs on a timeline most people do not see until it is far too late. In this video, we are tracking the exact anatomy of a credit card collapse. We will follow one missed payment from the day it happens to the day a collections attorney files a lawsuit against you in civil court. We will walk through every notice, every fee, every legal trigger, and every consequence. It begins on day 1. Your payment due date passes. Inside the credit card issuer's automated system, whether it is Chase, Capital One, Discover, or Bank of America, a flag is triggered the moment the clock strikes midnight. Here is what most people do not realize. You did not just miss a payment. You triggered a series of automated responses that will cascade over the next 6 months. Each response is tied to a specific day count. Each one makes the situation exponentially worse. At this stage, you still feel safe. No lawyers have called. No sheriffs have knocked on your door. Just a late fee, usually between $25 and $40, tacked onto your balance. It feels manageable. Annoying, but survivable. But if you look at your credit card agreement, the one you signed but probably never read, you will find a clause buried in the fine print. It is called the penalty APR, and it is about to change everything. Most credit cards operate on a 2-strike system. If you miss a second payment within 6 months, your interest rate can legally jump from something like 18% to 29%. Not on future purchases, on your entire existing balance. Retroactively, let me be clear about what this means. If you have a $5,000 balance at 18% APR, you are paying about $75 a month in interest. But at 30% APR, that same balance costs you $125 a month. That is an extra $50 every single month just in interest. Not paying down the principal, just interest. 30 days later, the second payment is missed. The phone calls start. At first, they are polite, professional. The representative on the other end offers to set up a payment plan. They might waive the late fee as a courtesy. They are still treating you like a customer. But if you ignore those calls, and many people do, out of shame, fear, or simple avoidance, you cross into day 60. This is the threshold. This is where the grace period ends. At 60 days past due, 2 things happen simultaneously. First, the penalty APR I mentioned earlier kicks in. Your balance of $5,000 is now accruing interest at nearly 30%. That is $125 a month in interest charges alone, not including late fees or over-limit fees if you have crossed your credit limit. Second, and this is critical, your credit card company reports your account as 60 days late to the 3 major credit bureaus, Equifax, Experian, and TransUnion. This is not a soft warning. This is a financial scar that will remain on your credit report for 7 years. Your credit score drops immediately. The typical hit is between 60 and 110 points, depending on where you started. If you had a score of 720, you are now in the low 600s. Loans you qualified for yesterday are now completely out of reach. Credit card offers dry up. Even car insurance companies can use this against you in some states. The grace period is over. The numbers are compounding, and the war has officially begun. Around the 90-day mark, the tone changes. The bank's internal system escalates your file. You are no longer categorized as a late customer. You are now classified as a delinquent account. That distinction matters because it triggers a different department, different protocols, and different legal options. This is when you receive the pre-charge-off letter. The language is direct and unmistakable. Pay immediately, or we will close this account and report it as a total loss. Your credit card stops working. It is not just frozen, it is terminated. But the debt does not disappear. In fact, it is about to get significantly worse. At 6 months, 180 days past due, the bank reaches a critical accounting deadline. Federal regulations require banks to charge off credit card debt that has been delinquent for 6 months. This is called a charge-off. Here is what most people misunderstand about a charge-off. It does not mean the debt is forgiven. It does not mean you are off the hook. It means the bank has internally written off the debt as a loss for tax and accounting purposes. But you still owe every penny, plus all the accumulated interest and fees. What happens next is where it gets brutal. The bank sells your debt. They bundle your $5,000 balance with thousands of other charged-off accounts and sell the entire portfolio to a debt collector. These companies pay pennies on the dollar. Your debt might sell for $500, maybe less. But here is the key. You still owe the full $5,000. The debt collector paid $500 for the legal right to collect $5,000. That is a 900% profit margin if they succeed. And they have an entire infrastructure built around making sure they do. You are no longer dealing with a bank that has a reputation to protect, customer service standards, and regulatory oversight. You are now in the hands of professional debt collectors whose only job is to extract money from you by any legal means necessary. The calls intensify. The letters become more aggressive. They might offer you a settlement. Pay $3,000 right now, and we will call it even. For many people, this sounds like a gift. But if you cannot pay $3,000 in one lump sum, the offer evaporates, and the machine keeps moving. At this stage, many people are trapped in a psychological cage. They feel shame. They avoid the calls. They throw the letters away unopened. And while they hide, the debt collector is preparing for the next phase. The phase that involves lawyers and courtrooms. We have now arrived at the final escalation. The debt collector has decided that phone calls and settlement offers are not working. So they do what the original bank would never do. They sue you. This is the summons and complaint. It is a legal document filed in civil court, and it names you as the defendant in a breach of contract lawsuit. You are being sued for the unpaid credit card debt, plus interest, plus the debt collector's legal fees. In most states, you have between 20 and 30 days to respond. Payment isn't required at this time. You just have to respond in writing to the court, acknowledging the lawsuit, and presenting a defense if you have one. This is not optional. This is a legal requirement. But here is the devastating reality. Most people do not respond. They receive the summons, panic, and do nothing. Maybe they think it will go away. Maybe they assume they cannot afford a lawyer, so there is no point. Maybe they are simply overwhelmed. When you fail to respond, the court enters what is called a default judgment. The judge rules in favor of the debt collector automatically because you did not show up to defend yourself. The debt is no longer just a debt. It is now a court-ordered judgment. And that changes everything. With a judgment in hand, the debt collector unlocks 3 devastating enforcement tools that they did not have before. First, wage garnishment. The debt collector goes back to court and requests a writ of garnishment. The judge approves it, and your employer receives a legal order to divert up to 25% of your disposable income directly to the debt collector. This is not negotiable. Your boss does not have a choice. The money never hits your bank account. It goes straight to the debt collector until the judgment is paid in full. Let me put that in perspective. If you take home $2,000 a month after taxes, the debt collector can legally take $500 of it. Every single paycheck, for months or even years. You are now living on $1,500 a month, trying to cover rent, food, utilities, and everything else, while 25% of your income is being siphoned off to pay a debt that started at $5,000 but has now ballooned to $8,000 with interest, fees, and legal costs. Second, bank levy. Just like the Internal Revenue Service, a judgment creditor can freeze your bank account. They do not need to warn you. They send a levy order to your bank, and the bank is legally required to freeze every dollar up to the amount of the judgment. One day, you try to swipe your debit card at the grocery store, and it declines. You check your app, and your balance is zero. But the money is not gone yet. It is in legal limbo. The bank holds your funds for 21 days. This is your window to challenge the levy in court. But if you do nothing, if you do not file an objection with the court, on day 22, the bank transfers your money directly to the debt collector. Rent money, grocery money, your emergency fund, gone. Third, property lien. In many states, a judgment creditor can file a lien against your real property. If you own a home, They place a legal claim on it. You cannot sell the house without paying off the lien first. You cannot refinance. The lien sits there, attached to your property, accruing interest, waiting for you to either pay it or sell the house. And when you do sell, the lien gets paid before you see a dime. The $5,000 credit card debt you walked away from has now become an $8,000 judgment with the power to garnish your wages, freeze your bank accounts, and put a lien on your home. The system has gone from sending letters to legally extracting money from you by force. The credit card collection process is brutal by design. It is built to punish inaction. It is automated, relentless, and unforgiving. But it is not unstoppable. At almost every stage of this timeline, there is an exit. Most people just do not know their options. Before the charge-off, before day 180, most credit card companies have hardship programs. You call the phone number on the back of your card. You explain your situation. You tell them you lost your job, or you had a medical emergency, or your income dropped. And in many cases, they will work with you. They can freeze your interest rate temporarily. They can lower your minimum payment. They can even settle the debt for less than you owe, as long as you are still dealing with the original creditor. After the charge-off, when the debt has been sold to a debt collector, you can still negotiate. Remember, they paid $500 for your $5,000 debt. They did not pay full price. If you call them and offer to settle for $2,000 in a lump sum, they will often take it. It is still a 300% profit for them. They close the file. You close the debt. It is over. If they cannot prove the debt, the case gets dismissed. You have 20 to 30 days to file an answer with the court. You do not need a lawyer for this. You can download the form from your state court's website. You fill it out. You file it. And suddenly, the debt collector has to prove their case. They have to show up with documentation. In many cases, they cannot. Debt collectors often do not have the original contract or complete records. The biggest mistake people make is not the missed payment. It is not even the debt itself. It is the silence. The system punishes silence with automation and escalation. But if you engage, if you pick up the phone, if you respond to the lawsuit, if you negotiate the settlement, you can stop this machine before it crushes you. Do not let shame turn into a judgment. Do not let fear turn into a garnishment. The tools to fight back are available at every stage. You just have to use them. Thanks for watching. If you found this valuable, smash that like button, subscribe for more content like this, and hit the bell so YouTube actually shows you my next video.